just remember where we would take music like that, and on a Friday night, somebody bring a record player, bring the records, and you play the music, and you have a spontaneous party.
Welcome to Message Reveal. Message Reveal identifies a vibe, a message, or a story told through lyrics of a song. And you guys, if you rock with me every Monday, you know what I do and you know how I do it. I tell you something about our special guest. But if you're new to the platform, please subscribe and find out what Message Reveal is all about. Now, as you know, our special guest, I have to tell you a few things. Although she has a plethora of things, but I'm going to give you a few bullet points of who she is. One, she's the national sensation spokesperson. Two, she's a certified tobacco treatment specialist. And last but definitely not least, she holds a doctorate in counseling and psychology. You guys, please put your hands together and welcome my special guest, Dr. Karen Beard. Yay! How are you today, my dear?
And well, I am on top. I'm so glad to be here with you. Hallema, I've been waiting for this, and so thank you for the invitation to just be in this space with you and your
Mm,
audience.
Thank you. And I tell all my guests, if you take time on your Friday to say yes to me, I appreciate you. So, before we get started, I just want to give my audience a little background. I met you initially almost a year ago. You was at I think it was a tobacco smoking summit, and you were one of the presenters. And I just felt like you were very authentic. I felt like you shared professional and personal information. And I loved the way you kind of talked about the strategies that you put together that to me was untraditional. And we know as Black women, we can be given an assignment, but
Hmm.
we always put a little bit of who we are in that. So let's start off a little bit about your background and how you became the specialist in the tobacco field.
Okay, thank you for that question because at this phase of my life, I certainly didn't expect to be doing the work that I'm doing. So I like to say, man plans and God laughs. So, anyway, what happened? My husband began smoking menthol cigarettes, Newports, around age 15. And he continued to smoke, even though Halima, he had cancer 3 times. The first time they removed half of one lung. I don't remember this, I've forgotten the size now, but half of one. The next time he had cancer, they removed a third of the other. And we just went right back to our life. And so I think my husband probably misjudged the seriousness of continuing to smoke. And so the third time that he had cancer, he survived the surgery, but he didn't have enough lung left to have good quality of life. And so he passed November 25th, 2013. And during his ordeal of going through all of that, you know, having a counseling background, of course, I thought I knew how to help him, right? And so, unfortunately, I didn't use my background, not that it would have helped, but I did the wifey thing. I ran my mouth too much. I threatened, I tried to guilt him. I did all the wrong things. Of course, I loved him, but what I realized is although my background is counseling and psychology, I didn't know tobacco. I took it for granted. It's just don't stop buying it, don't use it. And so after his death, I went to Florida State University and I became certified as a tobacco treatment specialist. That was in 2014. And so I've been on this journey of helping other families and people who smoke, African Americans specifically. I've been on this journey to try to help them avoid what I went through and to really help save lives.
Yes.
And so that's where I am today. So, and I used to say, I knew I couldn't understand why my husband continued to smoke because I knew he was intelligent because he married me, right?
That's right.
But I say that because I want people to understand that it is not as easy as just not buying the product. There's a lot of reasons why people continue. But that's how I came. So I moved to California in 2015, thinking I was retired. And then in 2020, I did a menthol study. I wanted to find out what African Americans who smoked thought about ban on menthol cigarettes. And so that was a 2 year study. And thought I was just going to be done. And so here I am. In fact, I'm writing another grant for a study to start next July.
Wow. I think it's amazing because we need those introspects and the outside perspective of what it is. And I feel like you're the woman for the job for two reasons. You have personal connection with your husband, but two, you have the professional background with the studying, being a doctor, and being able to apply it in different ways. And I love the honesty when you said, hey, it was much different. I thought I could just apply what I've learned, and he just stopped. But it wasn't the case. So we're gonna excuse me, dig a little deeper and talk about some strategies and some things you have implemented, and talk about the marketing process that these big tobacco companies put out that keeps not just us, even though we're focusing on us, everybody connected to this big tobacco company. So before we do that, let's take a trip with me and let's get in my boat of water and
Mhm.
just glide. And water relaxes me, and we get to talk about music. I would like for you to identify a song that has either blessed you, giving you lessons, or distractions. Now, before you tell me, there's a couple of rules to this, okay?
Okay.
If you can sing,
Oh,
I need you to sing your throat box out. If you can rap, honey, I need you to come hard in the
oh,
paint. But, but, if you cannot do either or, I
okay.
need you to talk about the lyric with passion. You know, you hear in the streets, they say, stand 10 toes down.
Uh-huh.
That's what I need you to do. I need you to tell the story with passion if you cannot do the first two. So I'll go back to my original question. Can you provide a song that has provided lessons, distractions, or blessings?
I can. I would say one song that I use to keep me focused and balanced is Jill Scott's song "Golden." Um,
Okay.
yeah, now I can't sing it. The reason I like that song is because the nature of my work. I'm working with people who are either in survival mode or they've gone through some things. They're battling adversity. And so, in order for me to show up and be able to help them, I got to be right, right?
Yes,
And
ma'am.
so, when I'm feeling, I get in a space sometimes where, I can see I'm heading in that direction. a pity party or just, whatever, I can put that song on and it reminds me of who I am, what I'm capable of, and how, the life that's meant for me. And so it's a blessing, I would say. And it's also a lesson about those things that are really important in life. And so through that song, I keep myself in a space where I can hold space for somebody else and not bring my junk into it, I'll say.
I love that. I think every professional has to find that route to
Hmm.
make sure they have, even if you work a 9 to 5, you
Hmm.
have to find that space that you can hold sacred for yourself, but also be able to really support and give 100% to your clients, to your people that you're supporting. So I think as women, that we have to learn that very early on, but sometimes it takes time for us to extract that wisdom and say, okay, this part is for me and the other
Hmm.
part is what I'll give for someone else
Hmm.
to make us whole.
Hmm. Hmm. Right, right. I used to work in a field for many, many years. I did rehabilitation case management for the Department of Labor, Social Security, and the Veterans Administration. And so I was used to working with people who either they themselves felt they were broken or something was missing, or society said that when you have a disability or you're no longer who you were as a result of a car accident, um, people. So my point is, I worked a lot with people who were emotionally needy, and I just feel it's my obligation to give them the best of me. And so when I started doing the tobacco work, I had already cut my teeth or sharpened my iron around how to go into a situation like that. And because I also worked as a hospice social worker, so I was able to, uh, I'm not boasting, but I'm very good at going into a situation and being that stability and being able to be with them and not be there to, tell them what to do or whatever. Just sometimes people just need you to be with them.
That is very true. That is sometimes the very tipping point is
Hmm.
someone to listen to them and really not just listen, they have to feel it as well. And then it
Hmm.
can go to the next step. With anything, whether it's a team, whether it's counseling, it's about, are you sincerely listening to me? And if so, they go to the next step and they're able to open up and, some progress
Hmm.
can be met. That's just my perspective.
Yeah, and I agree with that because in hindsight, I think with my husband's situation, what I don't have guilt, but I do have regrets. I regret that I made statements too much rather than asking questions. I
Mm.
wish that I had asked more questions rather than, advice giving and threatening and all of that. I wish I had said, what is it about, cigarettes that you like, or, how does it make you feel? But I went in from a position knowing all about it. And I think, Halima, sometimes when you're in a situation, you are the student, and
Mm.
sometimes you are the teacher. And I should have been the student. And so I, when I'm working with the people that I serve now, I go in with that student mindset because I believe they are the experts on their life.
Ooh, honey, you talking some good stuff. I just have to say this. So, right here is the invisible pew. You can't see them, I can't see them, but you're speaking to somebody's spirit that is currently in a situation, and it may not be surrounding smoking, but it's
Hmm.
surrounding a situation where they're trying to offer some kind of guidance. But in order to do it first, and I say this all the time on my platform, sometimes I'm the student and
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I'm the teacher. But the real wisdom of it all is to be able to identify which side you sit on first. And I
Right.
think a lot of times when we have some knowledge of something, we think that applies across the board. But a real teacher will sit and be a student, as you said first,
Mm-hmm.
and then
Mm-hmm.
become the professional, because it allows you to gather enough information. And now you
Mm-hmm.
said, oh, this applies to this person, correct?
Mm-hmm. 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 And I think questions can keep the conversation going, whereas, when you make statements, that's a whole different feel to it, especially for people when they're hurting or making a transition. Questions kind of open up possibility. If you ask the right questions, I tend not to ask why questions, because why questions don't move you forward. you
Mm,
know, if you ask what now, where, and who, those are more action oriented questions. When you say why, you can get an answer, but what can you do with it?
mm. I like that. What's for the future, or how do we look for the future? So it's pulling the person out of their current state and say, let's work on something where we can get you out of this, that we can move
Hmm.
forward. So I do like that.
Hmm. Yeah, when I find myself in a situation, I know that I was, in hindsight, when people hear my story, they say, "Oh, how did you survive that?" And, "Oh, I don't think I could have survived that." And I said, "You could have, um, if, in my opinion, if you had asked, the right question." I said, "What I did, it was a terrible situation, but I didn't ask God, why me, or just say, oh, why me? And that's not fair, and all of that. I just said, what now, God? What do I need to do? Who do I need to talk to? Where do I need to go?" Because then when God gives you the answer, you got something you can do something with.
There you go.
Now, he will answer why questions. Why did this happen to me? You might get an answer, but I'm not sure if at that point when you're in the thick of things that it would move you forward.
Hmm.
Um,
I
you
think, if I can jump in and say, sometime the why will keep you stuck, and until you've progressed long enough, you can go back to that why, because that why may be the root. But in the
Mhm.
meantime, we want some progression, and a
Right.
progression will, like, okay, what can we do today? Because
Hmm.
I know sometime, um if you stay too stuck in the past, it is debilitating and you cannot move forward.
Right. I see why it's more of a reflective question. So when I got through my situation and reflected back on why that happened, and then my prayer was, well, Lord, I can't say I won't do something that stupid again. I said, but if you help me out, you know, I promise I won't do this again. I might do something stupid again, but just
But not that, but not
but
that,
not
huh?
that.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing that song. And I just want to clarify, it is Jill Scott, living my life like
Golden.
it's
Yeah.
golden. Yes.
Yes. Uh-huh.
It's a beautiful upbeat song, and I can't see anybody putting it on and not just lifting their
Moving
spirits
to
up.
it.
Yes, because it's
Yeah.
living my life like it's golden, living
Look
my
at
life like
you.
it's golden. Yes. That's a I believe in high elevation. I believe that's a high elevation song.
I agree.
Yes.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the real reality that's out there, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. I don't have the statistics, but my understanding that smoking, it has been at an all-time low for young people, but the e-cartridge has increased for them.
Mhm.
Is that some truth to that?
Oh, absolutely. So you'll find younger people. young adults, adolescents will have switched to e-cigarettes or vapes. They're not doing what we call combustibles, which is normal cigarettes. And so I get the question a lot, which one is worse, or you know uh, or I'm told when I'm talking with people who are vaping, they'll say, well, but Dr. Beard, vapes are safer to you for you. And I say, well, that depends on how you define safe. If you're talking about vapes don't have as many chemicals as a combustible cigarette, which can have from 7 to 10,000 chemicals, you're right. Vapes usually don't have you don't get the tar and you don't get the chemicals that you'll get in a combustible cigarette. But that does not mean that you're not going to experience um, tobacco or nicotine related um, uh, uh, d- um, diseases because you're still introducing heat into your lungs. Heat can cause inflammation. Inflammation causes the diseases. So you don't get the tar and the chemicals when you vape. You're getting aerosol heat as opposed to combustible heat. And so at the end of the day, you're still at risk for damaging your health.
I'm glad that you brought that up, and whoever gets chance to tap in and see this, that it's not facing one with another, because some e-vapes, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, they are made of the worst things, that chemicals and different things. They're not all the same. Am I correct on that? Like, it's not one size. They don't
No,
all
no,
go by the same
no.
system. One may put something in there that's extremely harmful, more than what another e-vape may provide,
Mhm.
correct?
That's correct. And therein lies another problem because vapes are not as regulated as cigarettes right now. So you don't know what's in it. And so you're at risk again because you're using a product that is you don't really know what's in it. I imagine or I hope, well, my sincere hope is that they would take it off the market. But short of that, I hope that they will, meaning the FDA and all those regulatory agencies, will start to regulate vapes and e-cigarettes more.
Yeah, yeah. And again, as I mentioned before, I feel like it is more targeted to our children, our babies, that you
Mhm,
can smoke and get away with it. Because back in the day, you knew who smoked. It smelled on their clothes, it smelled
mhm,
on their breath. You had
mhm,
some people that was very good with hiding the scent, but now if they're e-vaping, you don't know if it's, because sometimes it's cherry smelling, sometimes
mhm,
it's this
mhm,
smelling, so
mhm.
it disguises itself in many ways, and it's not always healthy.
Right, you're absolutely right. And they use the flavors to attract kids, like bubble gum or a lemon, strawberry, and whatnot. Those are the things that the tobacco industry and those vape producers use to attract kids. And I sometimes feel in this fight to push back on the tobacco industry and protect our youth and our people, African Americans, because we are targeted with menthol cigarettes, which are easier to start using and harder to quit. That the tobacco industry spends, I think, about $11 billion.
Ooh, wait a minute. I have a pause moment. And a pause moment means you need to say it again, because we really want people to understand the
Mhm,
amount that you just gave or
mhm.
provided. Say it one more time.
11 the tobacco industry spends around $11 billion to market, to do research, psychographic research to find out what it is we like, how we like it, where we like it. And so it's good research. But compared to what public health can do, we don't have that kind of money to spend, so they can out research us on the one hand, and so they are very good at being able to reach the markets, and they're very good at segmenting the markets. If you look at the tobacco industry, you have brands for women. I started all those years ago when I was trying to
Trying to
be
be
cute in
cute in the
uh, you know, um, I think I was 21 and had got my degree, and now I want to be cute and grown. And I started smoking Virginia Slims. They had just come out. Then there's the Marlboro Man for, that rustic, man. And then you have Newports. Um, but I'd like to say, even though they can outspend us, when we come together as a community and fight back, we can push back on the tobacco industry. So a lot of times it's not just about the money. There was a brand called Uptown. You ever heard of the Uptown brand?
no.
You know why?
Why?
Because when RJ Reynolds tried to bring that brand out and test it in the Philadelphia market, those black people said,
Mm,
we're not having it. And
mm.
they fought back. I think it was 1988 or 87, something like that. I could have the year wrong, but the brand was called Uptown. The African American community got together and fought, and that brand never came, to market. And so,
That's wonderful.
yeah, and so I like to say, it's kind of like a David and Goliath situation. The tobacco industry being huge and large, like Goliath, we hear, oh, you can't, stop the tobacco industry and da 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 da, all of that. But I'm reminded of something I heard. It's kind of like a joke. It was saying, how, when David was facing Goliath, the people said, "Oh, David, David, uh, Goliath's gonna squander you. You can't go up against him. He's too big." And David said, "Anything that big, I can't miss." And so I think it's the perspective that we bring into this situation. So yes, they target our youth with vapes, all youth with vapes. They have more money, but we just have to have more will. We just have to be continue to be steadfast, and it doesn't mean necessarily that they're going to win because they have more money
Yeah.
to. Mhm.
I love the fact that we're talking about this. Many years ago, I worked for a nonprofit and I was an anti-addiction coordinator, and the focus was on smoking. And I did it for like 2 or 3 years, and then what is it? I think it was 2008, 2007 when the economy changed.
Mhm.
And that was no longer the focus. So we were getting some real leeway with getting people's attention about thinking twice with tobacco. But when the recession came in, I hate to say that, it changed people's perspective. So that was not on the forefront. And I think that's kind of a circle where when things get to the backside, we're not doing things, the economy changes. That's no longer people focused. They're
Right.
worried about feeding people, so tobacco goes to the backside. And that was
Right.
just my personal experience
Realistically,
when I
we do have to make those kind of hard decisions. Budgets are cut, when the climate changes, like we're in a climate where it's pro-tobacco. We're in a political climate where it's pro-tobacco. But that doesn't mean that we stop our work or we stop. I see it as continuing to prepare because I don't believe the political environment is going to be like this all the time. So we need to be ready when things change. Not getting ready, but ready. But you're absolutely right. public health, just doesn't have that. We have to make hard decisions
Yeah, yeah.
sometimes. Hmm.
And I say that because we need people like you that will continue to do the research, continue to strategize, and continue to bring things to the forefront, whether it's on podcasts, whether it's in person, doing summits, so that it can become or remain relevant in some form or fashion.
Hmm. Hmm. And that's what gets me up every day, and that's why I'm not on a cruise ship. I'm sitting here with you.
Well, I don't want to stop you from a cruise ship because I believe if you play hard, you gotta, I mean, if you work hard, you gotta play hard.
Play
So,
hard, yeah. But
yes,
I thought my husband and I would, because we love to cruise. But this is this work for me is not, well, actually work. It's not. Some people say, "Oh, it's your legacy." I just don't like a bully, and I see the tobacco industry as a bully. So I'm just going to do what I can do with what I have from where I am to be a obstacle, to
yes,
them. And if I may, I just believe that we're shooting ourselves in the foot when we're trying to help or support, and we focus on just the behavior of people smoking. We always say, Quit smoking." That's stop the behavior. Well, m- most people can quit, they just can't stay quit. Because people quit. I have rarely run into people who wake up specifically to smoke. Might wake up to go to the bathroom and you might smoke, or you might, wake up for another reason and you smoke. But I have not experienced. I've heard that there are a few people who wake up specifically to smoke. So that tells me if you can go, through a sleep cycle, whatever hours that is, that you have the ability to quit. I think where we are missing the mark is that it is not just the behavior, and it's not just the physiology or biology of, ingesting the chemicals. When people smoke, they develop a lifestyle around it. They develop an identity around it. So when I come along and I ask you to give up something that has been a friend for you, that has gotten you through stressful times, hard times, see, to me, it's a problem, but to the people who smoke, it's a solution. So our perspective of helping is wrong. We're focusing on the behavior, whereas in an intervention that I developed, I call it Free and Proud. I based it on identity, because if you don't see yourself as a person who smokes, when you get into a stressful situation, you won't think of smoking. But if you'll say, you're that's not who I am. For if I use myself, when I have stress, I don't think of smoking. It's just not who I am. But now sweets, that's another story. I want something sweet. But I'm just saying, a lot of it is identity. And then when I ask you to give it up, there's loss. You're giving up a part of you. And for some people, that's scary. So before I ask people to give up what's been a friend and gotten them through survival mode and all of that, I have to show them, give them a vision of what's possible for them, who they can become when they are no longer, using the nicotine to manage stress, to belong. Because when you ask people to give up nicotine, well, what do they do when everybody, your family, you're at Thanksgiving dinner, everybody goes to the patio or outdoors or wherever you go to smoke? What do you do? What do you do at a job when your coworkers you used to take a smoke break with, now you're not taking a smoke break? Then what do you do? So my point is, it's not just stopping the behavior, it's also giving that person an identity, or a lifestyle to be in, because there is some loss and grief about not being able to do it anymore.
As you're talking, my perspective is this is spiritual work, even though you may not identify it as that,
Hmm.
because anything that deal with loss and gaining, that's spiritual work. And that's where my perspective, everything starts spiritually first and manifests physically.
Hmm.
And I feel like you've given me great perspective where you was like, hey, that's a loss for them. Someone that has supported them through a stressful time. Like if think about a mother that may have lost her child. Or you know what? The spirit just gave me something. I met a lady years ago at a car dealership, and we were waiting to get our cars, whatever, to the cars. And her and I struck up a conversation, and she told me her son that she only ate Campbell soup and smoked cigarettes the entire time she was pregnant with the child. And she said she knew that she needed to stop, but she was so stressed out for whatever was going on in her life. She just didn't think the child would come here healthy and would be okay. And she said she stressed the whole time. Anyway, the child ended up being healthy and everything was okay. But it goes back to what you're saying, that when you're in a stressful mode or something traumatic has happened to you, that cigarette that she smoked every day, 3 times a day, got her to the next day. Whether we saw it as wrong or not, that was
Hmm.
her vice to get her to get up every day and get to the next step.
That was her solution, but public health and people who don't smoke, we look at it as a problem. They look at it as a solution. I'll give you another one with a mother. I worked with a lady who didn't have enough money to feed her kids. Now, nicotine is a appetite suppressant. So she would smoke a cigarette to suppress her appetite and let her kids eat. Now, I can't go into that situation and say, oh, you need to quit smoking
Right.
without first. Now, if you think about what Jesus did, he fed the multitude before he preached. And so it's the same thing. The solution for her was not to stop smoking, give up what was suppressing her appetite so she could, the little she had, she chose to give it to her kids. That's what mothers do.
Yes.
So I'm just saying, when we just focus on, the behavior, I think we miss the nuances of what it's like for the person, that lived experience of the person who smokes. And that's the only perspective that counts when, Halima, you're in a helping or supporting role. I have to work with what they experience. I had a young man, I think it was 2021, who had some type of disability. So he had to use the Medicaid cab, they call it, I guess. And so he couldn't be spontaneous and do what young people do, because to go anywhere, he had to, no, I think it was what, 2 or 3 days in advance, you have to order the cab or whatever. And so what he did, he was a chain smoker. He sat in his apartment and he smoked, smoked, smoked. And to him, it was nicotine. The cigarettes were a friend. They gave
Mm,
him something to do. Um, and for him, that was real.
mm,
So who am I to come in there, just right off the bat and say, oh, you need to stop smoking. It's going to ruin your health. Because he's not worried about health. He's worried about what's daily. You see, and that's another fault. We push health, but sometimes the consequences to health is so far out in the future. Most of the people I work with are just focused on today. I need to just get through the day.
and that's a real reality. It's a lot of people that just want to get through today. You can even come to them. It's like, I ain't thinking about next month. I'm thinking about right now, tomorrow. Think about the ones that cannot pay their rent or provide shoes for their children. They're not thinking about a year from now because they're in a stressful situation.
A
And when
survival
you're,
mode.
yes, survival mode. And when you're in survival mode, you're thinking about one, two, three, not 10, 11, 12, or whatever down the road. So I think those examples that you provided, the memory that I had about the lady, are some great examples that we can share with our audience if they choose to support someone. It has to
Mhm.
be a different route in how we do it. And again, I'll say it again, it's more spiritual than anything.
Spiritual. It's about meaning. I wish I had asked my husband, what does it mean to you? And then the other thing that I missed with my husband is that when he was trying to stop, I didn't recognize, um, I didn't recognize it because again, I didn't know tobacco, and what I mean by that, he used to eat a lot of Hershey bars, candy, and he would keep them in his nightstand, and the kids and the grandkids just loved it, because they know they could go there and get Papa's candy, right? But what I learned afterwards is that he had tried to stop. He had gone to a VA program. He probably didn't let me know because he felt like if he wasn't successful, I would run my mouth him and shame him, and so not good. But what I learned is that the wrapping paper, the paper that they put the tobacco in, some brands are cured in sugar. And so when
Wait,
you
wait, 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 wait. I had no idea. I need you to say that again.
some brands, the wrapping paper, what they put the tobacco in, is cured in sugar. So you're getting, sugar as well as nicotine. And so when Larry would stop, he still was craving even, the sugar. So he tried to use candy to satisfy that need for sugar. So yes, cigarettes, I like to describe them as a Trojan horse. If you know the story about the Trojan horse. Or it's like being in a toxic relationship, because they are in a relationship, a fatal attraction.
Mm.
And so when I teach one of the steps and modules in my Free and Proud um, program intervention, as I call it, breakup, because you got to break up with nicotine. And I have characters. The male character is Nick, and the female is Nikki. So
Oh.
when, so you got to break up with, and people can relate to it because everybody has had a bad relationship, crazy
Hmm.
boyfriend, girlfriend, or need to get out the situation. So and I mention that because I know, we're talking about music, but also when we approach people, when we're talking with people about giving up nicotine, one of my groups, that I work usually have low literacy. And so all those words we use, so I use metaphor to make it plain and digestible, for the person. So when I talk about, breaking up with Nick or Nikki, that's something that they can, grab on and understand, because when you smoke, you are in a relationship with nicotine. You gotta when you have a routine around it or a ritual. First thing I do when I wake up, I smoke. I smoke after I eat. You know, you have your ritual. So you're in a relationship. You got to take it everywhere you go, and then you got to figure out where you go. Can I be with you when I'm there? Because there's no smoking zones, right? So it is like being in a relationship with nicotine.
Wow, that's a great point, and I'm pretty sure even a child can understand that. And I say a child, like the young adults that are
Mhm, mhm,
addicted, they understand what breakup mean, and that
mhm,
that mean you got to change lanes, you got to go a different way. That's what
mhm, mhm, mhm.
a breakup is.
And so
But
sometimes I'll say, if they say they had a bad relationship, how did you get out of that bad relationship? Well, let's use those same things to get out of this bad, you know, relationship.
yeah,
Um, it's still the same skills.
I love that you're giving myself and the audience some things to think about. And as we're thinking about this, let's talk about music again.
Okay.
And let's talk about your childhood. And I say that because I want you to identify a song that, or an album, that you were able to purchase or select all on your own, meaning nobody like you, like, ooh, this is what I'm going to get. Whether sometimes you have money from Christmas, from birthdays, or you clean and you go purchase your whatever it is on your own without any influence. Can you identify a song or an album?
Um, a song that I love. Now, I was raised in the South, Florida, and so I grew up in a household where music was just very important. All of us, my cousins and I, we all had to play an instrument.
Oh,
Oh yeah, you had to play something in my family. So anyway, music and dancing was a big thing. And so I remember when I think about that question, I think about my mother, seeing my mother dance to a song. It was by Bobby Blue Bland. Do you remember
okay.
Bobby?
Come on, the Blues King. Come on. He had that
Yeah.
squall.
Uh-huh, uh-huh. So Bobby Blue Bland's Call on Me. And
Okay.
yeah. And so I love that song because I'm old school and it's romantic. Everybody can listen to it. You don't have to censor, the song. And then when I think about it, I can see my mom when she used to be dancing around the house. You
It brought
know,
back memories, huh?
it brought back memories and memories of not only my home but my neighborhood, my community. Back then it was segregated South, and so we were close knit. And I can just remember where we would take music like that, and on a Friday night, somebody bring a record player, bring the records, and you play the music, and you'd have a spontaneous party, that kind of thing. And so. That would be my son. Call on Me, Bobby Blue Bland.
Are you able to provide a few lyrics that you can remember about that song that really made it what it was?
No, I just now went blank. He says, if you if you need me, something like that. Call on me. I don't remember. It's so long ago, but I do remember. I like the sound of it. And I guess maybe mostly because I think of my mom when I think of that particular song. And I remember we used to hear it on the radio, but to your point, when I got money, I was able, you remember 45s? I was able to 45. Uh-huh. So no, I don't remember. I'm sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. The main gist of it, it was a song that you purchased on your own and you had a memory tied to it, which is
Hmm.
connected to your mother, which is always a beautiful thing.
Hmm.
So, and just like you said, hey, we did this spontaneous, somebody brought the record player, and next thing you know, we listen to music and having a party and probably a grand old time, right?
Right, right. Didn't cost us nothing.
And that's what music is all about. I say this to everyone. Music has been my counselor. It has pumped me up. It has leveled me out and even encouraged me as well. This season, we talk about yourself and how discovering you. And we know we always can identify a song that help you discover more about yourself.
Hmm.
So with that being said, let's talk about, we talked a little bit about it, but let's talk about the strategies and the marketing that big tobacco is putting in the neighborhoods. Meaning, in a typical neighborhood outside of the urban neighborhood, you may go from a 7-Eleven or a store, a little convenience store, and you may not have the marketing that is in maybe an urban neighborhood. Maybe the bench that's sitting outside has something about tobacco. You go to the liquor store, you have something about tobacco. You go down the street, it's something. So it's like it's it's a permanent fixture in your face about tobacco, and if you want to quit, you still have these reminders. So can you talk a little bit about some of the strategies that you've seen that they've done currently and in the past in our neighborhood, which is saturated more than other
Mhm.
neighborhoods?
It's no secret, well, most of us in this work know, and you appear to know that tobacco retailer density is always um, higher in African American urban communities. I just did, in working on this grant, I just had to do some research. And 2 years ago, when I did the research, there was about 500 tobacco retailers. And I work in the Compton area, the south central area. And there were about, now the 500 includes grocery stores, gas stations, 7-Elevens, any kind of retailer. And so now I just last week or earlier this week, I think we're up to 793
Mm,
tobacco retailers. And I really think the issue is, I would characterize it as six in one hand and half a dozen in the other, because the tobacco retail industry rewards tobacco retailers to do things like, give coupons to discount cigarettes, and but the the makers of like Nicorette gum, the patch and whatnot, they won't give a coupon to discount the nicotine replacement therapy.
mm,
And so the retailers, the fact that they're willing to subsidize the purchase of it, um, it's a gold mine. African Americans, urban communities are a gold mine. But it's up to us, whether you live in that community or not, to say, wait a minute, where I live, I don't see it, but where I
mhm,
work, it's everywhere. And so to get part of the my program, Free and Proud, the last module is called Rise Up, because once you've gone through the steps, now I want to teach you how to deal with tobacco retailer density. You can't, sometimes it's difficult. You're not going to get them out of the community, but
mhm,
what can you
mhm,
do? Now, since I don't have the money to do the research, I follow the tobacco industry's research. Remember Joe Campbell?
mhm,
Joe Campbell was like the face for Campbell cigarettes. And so for our movement, where I'm working now, serving now, we have JT, just the truth. He's a character. And he tells you, just like they had Joe Camel, well, we got JT to, and I tend, Helena, I watch the tobacco industry because what they're doing is good marketing, good promotion. They just
mhm,
have the wrong product.
mhm,
So, what page from their playbook can I use? Um, what can I, take from what they're doing? And so that's why I came up with the idea of JT. And when I work, I've mentioned I use music. I wrote a song called Breaking Free from Nicotine. And when you hear that song, you know we're in the area, you know who we are. Um, and I do pop up liberation stations. So when a community organization has an event, we pop up and we serve the community. Um, and so tobacco retailer density is there. It's hard to push back. You can't take people livelihood easily. So that's not the road to go. So I say six in one hand and half a dozen in the other. I choose to work with the people and their mindset. You know, uh, this retailer is here, but it doesn't mean you have to patronize them.
yeah, yeah. And I like JT. JT can be anybody in the community, but it's just truth. And
Everybody got a JT.
okay,
Everybody.
I love that. So was this a character that you created on your own, a part of your wow.
I
Kudos to
created
you.
them,
Let me give you a little clap up for JT, okay?
and I created them with AI. I just described uh, the character that I wanted to be on to the face of our movement. Done with menthol. And so I have to consumer test him, and then I will launch, introduce him probably at my Nicotine Liberation Summit, which will be held not August, October 21st. Um,
And what October 21st, where will it be? Will it be in California?
Virtually, it'll be
Okay.
virtual. Hmm,
Okay.
hmm,
All
hmm.
right. And
Yeah.
the 21st, what day is that? Is that
I
a
think that's a
Thursday or Friday?
Monday. I think
Oh,
that's a
okay.
Monday. It's gonna
Okay.
the Liberation Summit will be on a Monday. And so if you see from and I created this young man, I sometimes say he's my son, but he I
Well,
do.
he came from your spirit, so
Right,
maybe
my spirit. So, if you notice, I don't say really tobacco, or I use nicotine, and I use nicotine liberation because for African Americans, it is not cessation. It is not just about quitting the behavior. It's about liberation because there's an aspect of it because that our people need to be taught because see, there are political determinants
mm,
of health. And when we just focus on the behavior and not expand the mind and deal with the mindset of our people, those political determinants, just like social determinants, keep you trapped in the lifestyle. And so, liberation to me characterizes what we need to be focusing on more than cessation.
mm,
Now, not everybody that comes through the program will want to rise up,
yes.
but
And
serve in the way you can.
and let's just go back just a little, and I want you to explain to the audience because they may not be aware of that word sensation. Talk about what that actually means and I, give them the aspect of what it is because they may hear those words and say, I don't resonate with that.
Well, cessation just means it's a form of cease, stop. But now, what's um, uh, peculiar is we don't say alcohol cessation. We don't say opioid cessation.
Yes.
We don't say vaping cessation. Some people can't say cessation, they say sensation, so there is some, confusion around it. So why do we say tobacco cessation?
Hmm.
What happens, Halima, is nicotine use and dependency. I don't like to use labels, but I'm using the words that public health field uses. And nicotine is a psychoactive substance, just like uh, cocaine, you know, um, alcohol, any of the substances that alters the brain, psychoactive. It alters the brain. It produces dopamine.
Hmm.
It'll trigger dopamine. And so, but for some reason, when it comes to cigarettes or, tobacco products or nicotine use, we say it's a chronic relapsing condition. The CDC says that, the NIH says that, the World Health Organization, NIH is National Institutes of Health, all of these major health bodies say it's a chronic relapsing condition, but we treat it like it's an acute condition, like a headache. So instead of, treating it as a chronic relapsing condition like diabetes, cardiovascular disease, or whatever, and giving it the same treatment protocol, we treat it like it's a headache. I'm going to sit you in a class for 6 to 8 weeks, and when you get done, you should no longer smoke. Like if you've got a headache, take an aspirin and it goes away.
When you think that was by design, though,
It
to
is.
keep you in that same loop and that same cycle that hey, I've been here, I've done that, but it just seems like a cycle.
When you say a psycho, what do you mean?
The same thing. So if you're going to this class and you said they say after so many weeks you should be done, if they're not really getting down to the root of what it is, you're going to come back and be in that same cycle again.
And what that does is that make people think that they are a failure. And so then that can produce shame. You went through the class, but I'm still, using the nicotine or, smoking cigarettes. And so my program is 6 weeks, but the goal is not in doing those 6 weeks to get you to stop smoking. I don't focus on that first. Um, and I think unless we, and that's part of the study that I'm applying for now, unless we change our approach to it, we're going to continue to get the same dismal statistics that we get. 70% of African Americans want to quit. 40% try every year. 3 to 5% are successful. So I don't blame people who smoke. If you got that many people that are not successful, you're not doing something right. So we need to stop and take a look at ourselves. So I don't use a classroom model. I use more of a case management. And maybe because my background is social work and counseling and psychology, when I work with the people I work with, they have needs beyond. If they stop smoking, it still would not improve their quality of life. So my goal is not just to get them to uh, do differently, not rely on nicotine. My goal is to improve their quality of life and, if possible, their standard of living. Not everybody can make that leap. I had a guy in my last cohort who he was there, but he wasn't ready to quit. He wouldn't give it up. He had all the support in his family. He was the only one in his family that smoked. And so if I had just focused on the behavior, stop smoking, or you're going to ruin your health or whatever, I wouldn't have helped him at all. But I met him where he was, and I asked the right questions to get him to talk about his fears.
Mm,
See, he has some fears, and the other thing that I do is I don't, in addition to the group, I meet with them outside of the group before I even start the group. That way, you can tell me things that you may not want to say in a group.
mm,
And then when I'm in the group, I know everybody who's in there. I know something about their story.
yeah.
And so I probably got off topic, but when it comes to, I don't think we should look at the tobacco industry. We talk about it a lot, and we know that this is true. But if we want to create culturally responsive, meaningful um, interventions for African Americans, we have to start spending more time finding out what it is that keeps them from using evidence-based interventions. So what I do is one of my strategies is I use what I call listening circles. And so I specifically want people who smoke in that listening circle. So I can hear from them the words they use to describe, like we say targeted. And so what I learned is that they don't use the word targeted, the group I'm working with. So that helps me with my messaging. I don't say that tobacco industry is targeting you. One of the words that came up was genocide. And
Wow.
so, yeah, that they say, oh, they're committing genocide. And so then I kind of talk, but because they're still buying the product like not non-menthol cigarettes. That makes sense to me. But they are embracing that particular product. They're paying just as much for non-menthol cigarettes, which in some areas is $20 a pack,
Oh,
to to continue their relationship with nicotine. So I don't judge or challenge. I just try to present other options.
Yeah.
What could you do with that money if you weren't doing it over here? What would you like to do with it?
Hmm. Hmm.
You know, that kind of thing um, to give them. I want them to be like a co-creator in
Yeah.
finding their solution.
I just want to, and I'm glad you brought this up. For me to have you on, it's not because I have friends that smoke and I love them just the same. It is not
Mhm.
for me to tell an adult what to do. It's to provide information and to have an avenue to reach out because we're going to make sure we provide your information. So if someone wants to do that, because we know it can be in the quick of the night, you get up and say, I'm done, and I need something to help
Mhm.
me say I'm done. So at the end of the
Mhm.
day, it's not for me to judge. I just want to expose and really let people know that it is some struggles going on out here, and it's the simple day-to-day thing that it's easy for you to put in your mouth, just like it is with food, just like it is with music. Everything has its sides to it. So
Mhm.
um
Mhm.
thank you for just really going into detail about your strategies and how to give the people tools to look at things in a different way. Again, I say it's spiritual because anytime you got to
Mhm.
think about how you do things, it takes some spiritual work to go inside and really analyze who you are.
Mhm. So I kind of, I have a holistic approach. I say you need to renew the mind, guard the spirit, nourish the soul,
Mm.
and honor the body.
Say that one more time. Say that one more time.
Renew the mind, guard the spirit, nourish the soul, and honor the body.
Ooh, now that is, I'm gonna ask you if I can use that because that does not necessarily have to just be for that. That can be
Anything.
uh, for anything because it says in the Bible, I'm not a big Bible thumper, but it says, "Be ye transformed by the renewing of
Renewing
your
of
mind."
your mind. And that's because yes. And then also it's about beliefs. See, I can't get you to do anything that you don't believe. So I have to, and when I say renew the mind, it's not I'm acting upon you.
Hmm.
I'm providing the environment for you to look at it a different way. That's what I mean by renewing the mind, by educating you, not just giving you information, but showing you how to apply it. So now it becomes knowledge in education, and then guard the spirit, because not everybody is going to be for you making a change in your lifestyle because of how it's going to affect them.
Yes,
So you
yes.
got to be rooted and grounded, and then nourish the soul is about community, being with those people that support you. And sometimes that's not family,
Mm,
but that's not friends, but being open to finding, family, uh, in maybe different places, like a community of folks who have all decided to give up using nicotine, and you're in that family, and then honoring the body. One thing that most cessation programs don't do that I do is the first thing I do, the first I call it power up. You got to power up your body,
mm,
your mind, and your spirit. So the first module is about the body, because you gotta. It's just like athletes and military people before they go to war. Athletes before they in the game, what they build up their body. And same thing if you're trying to make a transition in your life, whether it's smoking or whatever. Change requires mental and physical energy.
yes.
And so if you don't, nicotine destroys vitamins, minerals. It affects every part of the body. So if I don't build you up So when you start that journey or that process of living without nicotine,
Mm-hmm.
you're not going to feel good, and you're going to think it's because you don't have the nicotine, but you don't. The nicotine has destroyed vitamin B, D, E, you know, magnesium, which helps you to sleep.
Yes, ma'am.
And so we start by preparing the body, and I put that in the category, Halima, of again when Jesus preached, he fed them first.
Mm-hmm. That's just like with anything. You got to be nourished before it would. It was a psychologist, I can't remember, but one of the things he said, people will not listen to you if they don't have the basic needs met, meaning food, shelter, and clothing. If
Mhm.
those things are not met, your message is gone out the door.
Right, and it's neuroscience. It's not, what you just, what you think. Because what happens when you are not fed or you're not conditioned or and you're in survival mode, your prefrontal cortex stops. It goes offline, and so
Mm,
now you can't make decisions.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Everything feels like cognitive overload.
mm,
I can't process that information. I can't integrate that new thing into my life. I feel overwhelmed. It's just too much.
mm.
So mindfulness. You have to bring them to a state where they can receive.
Yes, I love that. And I love that you kind of gave us a breakdown of how you get them to understand that it's layers and levels to this. And
Hmm.
with that being said, let's go about and talk about hard times. Hard times don't discriminate with anyone, whether it's
Hmm.
you, me, or anybody else. Can you identify a song that you can use to encourage you? I call it the tap in song. Like whatever's going on around you, you put that song on and you're like, whoo, it got me out of my space that I was once in.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Let's see. Well, I like The Help, Mary J. Blige. Um, I like that song. Sometimes when I feel like I just need a good cry, I'll put it on too. So it'll just help me get it all out so I
Hmm.
can just get on with what I have to do. But I love that song because it says, I'm the living proof. You did your best. You shot, your best. And I'm still standing. I'm the living proof. And so it reminds me of what my mother taught me. It's not what happens to you that matters, it's the meaning you give it.
Ooh,
And so,
okay.
yeah, it's the meaning you give it. And so, if you did you see the movie The Help?
You know what? It's been so many years ago.
Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
So, after all of that, what the maids went through and obstacles, and she was just trying to get her book written and whatnot, that whole spirit of, you didn't keep me down. You might have knocked me down temporarily, but you couldn't keep me down, and I'm the living proof because here I
Yes.
stand. That kind of thing, feelings, is what gets you through hard times and adversities. When I was a freshman in college at the University of New Hampshire, my roommate, this is in 1968, my roommate moved out because was black. And she and I got along fine, but her parents, and I don't blame them because at that time we were rioting and all they had seen in New Hampshire, because there wasn't many black people, was what they saw on TV. So they wanted her out. And so I remember, I'm sharing this because I remember um, her name was Joanne, and she felt bad about moving out. And I told her, it's okay, I'm good with it. And but the other students on campus, they wanted to riot and
Mm.
and protest on the campus, and I didn't because see, her moving out, all that meant to me was I had that whole room by myself, and I only paid for half of it. I'm good. Let her
Okay.
move out.
See, perspective, like your mother
Perspective.
said.
Yes, yes, yes. And so that got me through that adversity. So, I don't, I think about that experience in New Hampshire. It was the first time they had blacks at the school, so it was a lot. I was able to navigate that because I was taught at an early age,
Mhm.
and about, focusing on what matters, and
Yeah.
how to tell the difference, and the song, the help. Um, uh, for some reason, just reminds me of, when they say, I'm the living proof.
Yes.
Oh, you can't keep me down. Mm-mm. Nope.
Yes. Um, I love how wisdom always comes in from your mother.
Hmm.
May I ask, is your mother still with us?
No, no, she passed 1999.
So I
Hmm.
have something on here. Anytime we talk about someone that has passed on, their full name needs to be said,
Hmm.
and we give them high elevation. So would you please say your mother's name?
Bertha Bernard Bell.
We bless her energy and her
Thank
wisdom
you.
and her spirit that
Hmm.
she's able to live on through you, and the
Hmm.
wisdom that you provided somebody, whether it's today, tomorrow, or a year from now, will be able to say, I need to change my perspective, all because of
Absolutely.
her. So
Yeah.
we definitely bless that. Now, due to time, because I can be on here just picking your mind and going through all these process, but I really feel like you gave us a good foundation that we can look at things through a different perspective. A lot of times, we perish for lack of knowledge. And knowledge is meaning having experience, having perspective, knowing what's going on. And I believe you've given us a great perspective on how you do
Mhm.
things, the strategies that these nicotine companies provides, and all the little things that we need to understand if we have someone in our family or friends. It is not for us to say, you don't do this, you need to stop this as a health. It's to be a supportive part for them. And when they're on their way and they're ready to do it, they will do it. With that
Exactly.
with that being said, can you provide all your information? Say someone stumbles upon this podcast, say, wow, I want to get in touch with her. I would like to get more information about what she does, or maybe even partner up with you in some kind of way. Can you please provide your contact information and also talk a little bit or remind us about the summit that you mentioned in October that's coming up online? So if you can provide all that information.
Okay. Thank you for the opportunity to provide the information, Halima. October 21st, we will have our second Nicotine Liberation Summit. It's going to be virtual, and so I will send the information to you if you want to send it out to your
I'll make
network.
sure I put it in the show notes.
Okay. And and then in November, we're going to have our Breaking Free from Nicotine Celebration Day, and that's where we celebrate African Americans who have either quit using nicotine or made significant progress toward uh, giving up relying on it. And so we tell their story and we celebrate them. It's a day of celebration. And if anyone wants to get in contact with me, my phone number is 727-512-1880. And I can be reached at Dr. Beard, that's DrBeard, at Amplify, AMPLIFY .love.
I like that love on the
Yeah.
end. And
Hmm.
we'll make sure all the information that you just provided will also be in the show notes so they can
Okay.
access that as well. Now,
Hmm.
because time is short, and I do have one more question I would like you to answer regarding music.
Sure.
Um, do you have a song that you would like to dedicate to the world? Based on you discovering yourself, because this season theme is about discovering you, but we want you to dedicate a song about you discovering yourself that can help the world or showcase in a different way, a different manner.
Mhm. Well, I I believe very strongly in the Ubuntu philosophy. I am because we are. Um, I think that was what Nelson Mandela and Desmond Tutu's philosophy. So I would choose the song "We Are the World." I remember, it was so touching to me back then to see all the singers, Michael Jackson, Diana Ross, everybody who came together. I forget what the issue was, but they came together and said, "We are the world." And so here we are now in challenging times and in divisive times. But I'd like your audience to remember uh, uh, through the Ubuntu philosophy that I am because you are. So we're connected. And so we are the world and we're not alone.
I love that. That's beautifully said, beautifully done. Um, Before we get out of here, I just like to say this. I talk about the journey and the destination. The journey is where we learn and where we grow. The destination is where we celebrate.
Hmm.
Far too often we stay in the journey and we don't go to the destination and celebrate. We got to do that. We have
Hmm.
to do
Hmm.
that. So many mothers will just be mothers, but they won't celebrate being mothers.
Hmm.
So we have to celebrate. But when it's all said and done and it's over with, the key is to get back into that journey so we can continue to learn, we can continue to grow, and we can continue to elevate. I say all that to say, when I have my men on, I salute them, but with my women, I bow to them. So I bow to you, Dr. Karen Beard.
Yeah.
You have been so wonderful and being transparent with telling your personal story as well as stories to uplift us and give us perspective and encourage us in some kind of way. So I say all of that to say, last words go to you. So whatever you have on your heart, whatever you would like to say, please.
Hmm. Well, of course, I thank you for allowing me to be here in a space with you all and meeting you and your audience. And I just would like um, everyone to know that you have everything that you need to be whole, to be happy, if you look at it the right, well, I won't say the right way, but your perspective will determine what you see.
Mm,
And so it's not about you need to be more, have more, whatever. You just need to be.
yes. I love that. I love that. I think that is a beautiful, beautiful way to segue out. She said to be.
Mhm.
I would want, please, please put your hands together and thank my beautiful, beautiful guest, Dr. Karen Beers.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you,
you
Hallema.
so much. I appreciate your time. And as I say to all my guests, because you know I'm here in Las Vegas, I'll see you out here in these Las Vegas streets.
Okay. Bye.